Good evening and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. We begin in Alberta, where critics are calling on the Alberta government to overhaul their children's intervention policy. This comes after Children's Services released record-breaking numbers of children and youth dying while in Alberta's care. APTN's Tamara Pimentel has this story.
34. That's how many youth have died while receiving services from April to November in Alberta.
This has been a devastating time for many young people in Alberta, but particularly the most vulnerable who are in care. Predominantly, most of them are Indigenous.
Out of 34, 23 of those deaths are Indigenous children, youth, or young adults transitioning to life out of the system. NDP critic Rocky Pancholi says Alberta's UCP government needs to make changes to the system now.
Today, I'm calling on the UCP to reconvene a multi-party panel on child intervention to improve and strengthen the child intervention system, and to ensure that we are doing everything we can do to help children and vulnerable young Albertans transitioning to adulthood survive and thrive.
Currently in the province, 71% of youth in child and family services are Indigenous. Advocate Lynn Marshall-Say with the group Preserving Families says these numbers are the worst it's been since she's become an advocate.
So that's quite a few in 7 months, 34, that's too many.
In a written statement, Minister of Children's Services Rebecca Schultz says she has met with Alberta's child and youth advocate to address the increase in deaths. And she wrote in part, "I requested a thorough review of government's child intervention policy and practice be completed to determine if changes can be made to better protect children and youth in our care." Schultz says the child intervention budget has been increased by $14 million this year. But Marshall-Say says actual families need to be involved with decisions made.
The problem is that they do these community panels. Most of the time, general public is not involved. So the regular day-to-day parents are not involved in these community panels, and it's proving it's not working.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Edmonton police have issued a nationwide warrant for the arrest of 31-year-old Donny Nathan Meeches. Meeches is wanted for second-degree murder in the death of a 31-year-old woman whose name has not been released. Meeches is listed as 5'10" and 175 pounds. He has several facial and body tattoos. He has ties to both Manitoba and British Columbia. Edmonton police say not to approach him as he's considered dangerous and to contact them or Crime Stoppers if he is seen. A tuberculosis outbreak in Saskatchewan is getting worse. Two Dene communities have been dealing with a growing number of TB cases since the outbreak began almost 2 months ago. The two communities, Black Lake and Fond du Lac, are in Saskatchewan's far north, near the Northwest Territories border. Cases are climbing, with 24 now confirmed. Tracing has identified another 279 close contacts. Dr. Namdi Dabuka with the Northern Intertribal Health Authority says 4 people are in hospital, including 2 in ICU with a more severe illness called TB meningitis. Those case numbers include children.
So right now, for the number of cases that we've reported, almost half within the pediatric age group, so all less than 9 years of age, which is really concerning for us in terms of the severity of outcome of the outbreak.
Today is the 46th day in a row that Iqaluit residents haven't been able to use their tap water due to fuel contamination. While 46 days may be one important number to help understand the situation in Nunavut's capital, our Kent Driscoll is here to show you that there are other numbers that tell the story too. That's from Iqaluit.
46 days. Here in Iqaluit, we haven't been able to drink water from the tap in 46 days. Now, a lot can happen in 46 days. In that time period, Nunavut's had 2 different premiers and 2 different MPs. Now, when you start to take a look at the other numbers surrounding the water crisis, you can start to understand just how taxing this has been on the city. Here's a number, 34. That is how many days the Canadian military have been at the Sylvia Grinnell River, purifying water for the residents to drink. The next number is 11. Of the 34 days the military has been on site, they've only been able to provide water on 11 of them. The most recent setback, High winds earlier this week knocked down one of their tents. They're waiting for a replacement. Final number from the armed forces effort? 0. 0 is the number of Canadian Rangers, the mostly Indigenous Arctic expert reservists, who are working with the military on the water project. Odd, as the Rangers do have a lot of experience keeping small motors running in the cold and surviving Nunavut's elements. With the military's mixed results, flying in bottled water has become essential to Iqaluit. Here's a big number. The government of Nunavut has flown in 1,276,554 liters of bottled water so far. Now that works out to roughly 3.5 liters per resident daily, which falls right within the amount of daily water consumption recommended by the Mayo Clinic. Just how much water is that? With the 1.2 million liters of water, you could fill a Iqaluit swimming pool 1.5 times. Not everyone in Iqaluit has a car or the ability to carry that much water. The Kajutavik Food Center have been delivering water to those folks, as well as to the women's shelter and the adult group home. They estimate they've made over 250 deliveries. That bottled water is a lot of plastic. 166 cubic meters. That number is how much plastic a community-led recycling project kept out of Iqaluit's landfill so far. Another way to think of that number? That's 5 full sea cans of crushed plastic bottles. One last number for you here on day 46. $180 million. That's how much the city of Iqaluit says it will take to fix this water situation long term. Now that's a number to keep an eye on, because that's a number that can make all these other numbers go away. Ken Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
It's called Omicron, and it's the new COVID variant the World Health Organization called one of concern. Omicron was the main topic of discussion at today's COVID press conference. Canada's Chief Public Health Officer Theresa Tam said the variant is unusual due to a high number of mutations. Several travel restrictions from southern Africa were announced. So far, it hasn't been detected in Canada, but Dr. Tam can't say how the new variant may affect Canadians.
We know very little about this variant right now, including how transmissible it is and whether it increases severity of illness or what the impact is on the vaccine. But because of so many mutations in specific areas of the genome, we're taking this precautionary measure.
Survivors say the Indian Day School class action settlement is unfair because they felt pressure to submit a claim for the lowest amount and say they should be able to resubmit their claim. But a federal court judge said no. Now, New Brunswick Chiefs and the AFN Regional Chief of Saskatchewan are stepping in. Andrew Moore has the story.
John J. Paul of Eskazoni First Nation attended a day school for 9 years and says he got no help to fill out his claim, so he accepted the lowest compensation and now regrets his choice.
Sign on here, you'll get $10,000. No good. I'm saying to myself, how many people signed on just to say, let's just get it over with. But to me, I was under duress. I was under health problems.
The claims form ranks the levels of abuse from 1 to 5. Level 1 does not require supporting documentation or a personal narrative, so the compensation is just $10,000. Level 2 to 5 requires supporting documentation and a written narrative. Survivors can receive up to $200,000. Many survivors claimed Level 1 when they could have received a higher level.
Even the ones that have already applied, we're now talking about the abuse that they did not even talk about when they applied in the beginning because they didn't know what was going on. They were not given proper advice. There was no legal advice. There was nothing given to us, nothing at all.
You start remembering those traumatic experiences that you may not have remembered initially. And it's unfortunate these gatherings never happened prior to the claim opening up. And a lot of them were encouraged to apply right away and didn't realize how much abuse they've actually experienced over the years.
It wasn't supposed to be this complicated back in March 2019 when the Indian Day School settlement was announced to great fanfare, about $1.27 billion to be distributed to an estimated 200,000 survivors. But according to the federal settlement website, a survivor cannot submit more than one claim or request to change their claim to a higher level. Last summer, survivors filed a motion in federal court to modify their claims, and they lost. A notice of appeal has been filed. Deloitte LLP, the claims administrator, determines if the claims are a higher or lower level. Levi Peters says that is problematic.
So who is the one in wherever in Ottawa saying, oh, you qualify level 1, you qualify level 5? Do we have that right to know who is going to say what abuse I went through is level 1 or level 5? Are they psychologists? Who are they?
Bobby Cameron, head of Saskatchewan Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, agrees survivors are having issues across the country.
Here we have lawyers and whoever else in Deloitte and Touche that can say, oh, well, you don't qualify, or your story's not true. I mean, what on good God's green earth did we just go through with Every Child's Matters? What did we just go through?
The FSIN tabled a motion to the AFN to lobby Ottawa to extend the deadline and allow amended claims, but Cameron does not trust the lawyers.
Deloitte and Touche and Gowlings, maybe you should just walk away and get out of this whole process, because you're just stalling things. You're making things hard, and all the compensation should go to our survivors. Get out of our business and get out of our way.
In a recently released statement, the Wolastoqey Chiefs are also calling on the federal government to review the process. There has been a tremendous outpouring of dismay from Indian Day School survivors right across the country, upset with the rigid approach to the settlement and the lack of appeal and review process. Meanwhile, Paul still hopes to file another claim.
You know, I hope we continue this. I hope we appeal. At some point, somebody has to say, I don't think this process was rolled out correctly. I think there were bad intentions on the part of government.
Deloitte has received over 130,000 claims, including 99,000 claims at Level 1, which means 76% of the claims received are at Level 1. The deadline to file a claim is July 13th, 2022. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Kjipuktuk, also known as Halifax.
All right, we need to take a short break, but still ahead, a 60 Scoop survivor has traveled from California to the Northwest Territories. We'll tell you why next. Welcome back. The distance between California and the Northwest Territories is immense, but that hasn't stopped one 60 Scoop survivor from traveling and making it her mission to find her family. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has that story.
I was scooped at 6 months old. The hospital told my mom that I had died when I was old enough. And I asked, do I have any mom, any dad? And I was told I had nobody.
It would take 37 years for Teresa Harmon, birth name Trey's Crooked Hands, to find out the truth, as the 60 Scoop survivor took a chance on a lone NWT number listed under her family name.
Hi, my name is Teresa Harmon. My husband just found you guys, and I'm just calling to see if you guys are, if we might be related. I said, I'm calling from California.
Sure enough, in 2008, Harmon found her family.
This lady here, Louise Boyo, she's the one that I connected with.
She was living in California, a world away, but decided it was time to make the pilgrimage to her homelands. Harmon is finding out more and more about her family. In 2018, after her husband had passed away and her children all grown, she moved here to Little K to be there for her elderly mom. and filling in the blanks from child protection records.
I was fostered out in like Jean Marie River, Wrigley. I was put in the Wednesday child. They put my picture up there, and I was scared. I had no idea where I was going.
She lives with the scars from those years and a cultural disconnect, having been adopted by a white family in St. Thomas, Ontario.
The people in Ontario had always said, you're Eskimo. So I grew up thinking I was Eskimo.
Although her mom has since retired to an old folks' home, Harmon stayed in Little Cay, determined to learn more about where she comes from.
There is a certain amount of closeness when you're doing common activities, but when you're not doing that, there's also a lot of disconnect.
The isolated fly-in community of Little Cay has roughly 300 people.
I'll be honest, my experience here hasn't been the best. But for us 60 scoopers coming in, I'm not the only one that has had this experience. You know, I mean, I've even had people tell me that I need to give a DNA.
While she's happy to know her roots and slowly break the ice, she wants more support.
So right now, a lot of us just want to be able to go to a healing center, you know, and they haven't started that up.
Until then, she'll continue to share her story when she can. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Little Cay.
Manitoba currently helps stock southern Nunavut's grocery store shelves, but many of those planes and barges come back empty. Now business leaders and politicians hope to change that. An info session on economic opportunities between Manitoba and Nunavut was held this week in Winnipeg. They touched on many topics like mining, energy, and food supplies. The cost of bringing in supplies up north is expensive, and they'd like to see more goods produced in Nunavut come back to Manitoba, which would lower costs going in both directions. The mayors of Thompson and Churchill say beefing up trade would benefit their communities.
The opportunities are endless. We're already a supply chain with the rail that takes a lot of the commodities up there.
We're connected. It's a matter of improving on our infrastructure, which we're doing.
Higher management training with an Indigenous spin? Well, there's a course for that now. This week marked the unveiling of a new online class put forth by a Montreal-based business school, the first of its kind in Quebec. The First Nations Executive Education course was introduced Thursday during an economic forum in Montreal. Starting in December, a group of 15 participants, mostly community chiefs or bank council staffers, can enroll in the online class offered by HEC Montreal. The goal is to better prep community leaders for dealings with big-ticket development or natural resource companies.
À titre d'exemple, au niveau des ententes, certaines communautés, les Cris ont beaucoup d'expérience avec Hydro-Québec. Les Atikamekw ont beaucoup d'expérience dans le domaine de la foresterie. Les Inuits ont beaucoup d'expérience dans le domaine des mines. Les gens qui vont participer à ces formations-là vont pouvoir partager leurs expériences avec les autres communautés qui en ont plus besoin. C'est comme ça qu'on établit les benchmarks les plus importants, de façon à amener toutes les Premières Nations à un même niveau.
We need to step aside for one final break, but stick around. You'll want to see today's photo of the day, and I might be a bit biased saying it is the cutest one we've had. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Born yesterday at 6 pounds 10 ounces, welcome to the world, baby Noah. Congratulations to our very own Dennis Ward and wife Courtney. Noah and mom are healthy and happy. Dennis will be on dad duties for the next several weeks, so I will be filling in until he's back. To submit a photo for our photo of the day, be sure to contact us by sending your pictures to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Beginning in the east, 8 degrees and snow in Charlottetown and 0 in snow in Fredericton. Cloudy and snow and +2 in Nain and +5 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. -4 in snow in Quebec City and -10 in Val d'Or. +2 in a mix of sun and cloud in Toronto and -9 in North Bay. -9 and snowing in Big Trout Lake, and -11 in Timmins. Snow and -10 in Churchill, and snow and -6 in Thompson. 0 degrees and a mix of sun and cloud in Winnipeg, and -2 in Dauphin. -3 in sunshine in Saskatoon, and -1 in Estevan. -15 in sun in Uranium City, and +3 in sun in Buffalo Narrows. Over in the west, a -10 in sun in Fort Chipewyan, and -3 in Fort McMurray. A mix of sun and cloud, and -1 in Edmonton, and +6 in Lethbridge. 10 degrees in Vancouver, and 3 degrees in snow in Cornell. -4 in snow in Dease Lake, and +9 in Prince Rupert. -23 in Old Crow, and -30 in Dawson. -20 in Yellowknife, and -29 in Wrigley. -21 and a mix of sun and cloud in Fort McPherson, and -22 in Colville Lake. Snow and -14 in Cambridge Bay, and -9 in Baker Lake. -24 in Resolute, and a -24 in Arctic Bay. Tonight, APTN Investigates is looking at the push to use more nuclear energy. It's part of Canada's plan to get to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Reporter Christopher Reed is here to tell us about nuclear revival. Chris, thanks for taking a few minutes today to speak with us. So this is an update of some previous work you've done, right?
Yes, I've added some new material about small modular nuclear reactors to a piece we did in 2020. Now, some politicians, even some people who call themselves environmentalists, are saying we need some nuclear power in the mix to help get us to net carbon zero, our goal for 2050. But nuclear energy still has its fundamental problem, which is what to do with the nuclear waste, which remains a potentially deadly radioactive danger for eons. So we're looking at what these small modular reactors they're talking about mean for Canada's plan to deal with that high-level nuclear waste.
Now, speaking of that, what exactly is Canada's plan for that?
Well, they want to put it about half a kilometer down into the bedrock of the Canadian Shield, and this federal agency, it's called the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, is courting communities, Indigenous ones included, in 2 areas near Ignace, Ontario, and near South Bruce, Ontario. So the NWMO, as they call themselves, is engaging with these communities in various ways. Part of that involves giving them money to consider the idea of building this $26 billion underground complex to store used nuclear fuel for an eternity. But hold on, wait a second, because one of the proposed small modular reactor designs wants to take some of that used nuclear fuel first and reuse it in their reactors. So this potentially changes the plan for the NWMO, maybe considerably.
All right, Chris, certainly looking forward to that tonight, and thanks for taking a few minutes with us.
Thank you.
Christopher Reed's Nuclear Revival airs tonight on APTN Investigates right after the national news. And with that, that's all we have for you tonight. As always, for more news, you can visit our website at aptnnews.ca. Thank you for joining us. I'm Daryl Stranger. Have a great night.